What's going on, everybody? This is the first of what is likely to be many devlogs introducing a new project that I'll be working on, DAN, which stands for Decentralized Analyst Network. This is going to work alongside, in tandem with, or not replacing, but kind of being a part of GrabberApp and a lot of the other applications that I plan on building to kind of help out with the cybersecurity and open source intelligence gathering efforts. So DAN is kind of like, it's going to be the wrapper for all of them. It's going to be the place where all of my projects kind of come together as a way to analyze information. But let's kind of start small, and I'll introduce the bigger topics later on. So I've become fairly interested in the idea of federation on the internet recently. I've joined Blue Sky. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, and I've been on Mastodon for a little bit. I'm less active on there than I am on Blue Sky, and there's plenty of reasons for that I'm not going to go into. But federation on the internet is a really interesting and hot topic right now. If you're not familiar, federation is the idea that users can join decentralized instances, and those instances can federate or decide to share data in some way with other instances. The idea here is that you join an instance based on some shared hobbies, ideals, missions, identity, etc., and the administrators of that instance can decide to join their instance with another one that has similar alignment. So, for example, I'm on an information security instance that just talks about InfoSec and cybersecurity and hacking and stuff like that. I'm also a part of several other more political instances that are kind of federated with instances that have similar political kind of ideas. So you can think of one that's like kind of like an anarchist instance might be paired with an instance that's anarchist but in a different language, and they can kind of share data together. All of the users can interact with each other, things like that. So federation kind of allows you to decide what kind of environment you want to be surrounded with, and it allows administrators to create complex relationships between their instance and another instance that might have kind of shared ideas or shared identity. So you can see this very actively on Mastodon, and supposedly Federation is coming soon to Blue Sky. They're kind of building the protocol from scratch right now, whereas Mastodon is working on a protocol that's been around for a bit. So it can be kind of confusing on Mastodon. You don't see it just right on the top. But if you do some research into Mastodon and kind of look into what your instance is federated with, you can kind of understand it a little bit better. In the information security industry and in open source intelligence, information sharing is ad hoc. So it doesn't happen in any kind of formal, structured way. There are people who tweet stuff, and then that stuff is shared in information sharing groups on Slack and Discord and things like that. I'm not saying that this is not useful. I'm part of Slacks and Discords and stuff like that share information, and it can be a great opportunity to kind of network and create the kind of community that I think cybersecurity needs in order to, survive and do well. Bellingcat is a great example. They've got Discord servers where folks go and share really important information and collaborate on big projects and stuff like that. So it is something that is already kind of ongoing. Oh, man. Apparently the tornado siren testing is going on right now. But it's very ad hoc and unstructured, which means that a lot of information gets lost, and all of the relationships that are set up aren't structured in any way. So once you're sharing information with an individual or a group, there's no kind of rules or set ways to continue to interact with that group or individual. And you also have like Twitter, which might burn down at any point in time, which means all of the information posted to it is going to be gone or, archived somewhere else. There isn't a formal federation structure at all, which means that relationships are opaque, meaning you don't understand who has relationships with who, how those relationships work. There aren't really ongoing, structured, good, formal information sharing policies. There are on the federal level, but we all know the issues with that. And in the open source intelligence community, this can create a lot of problems. Nobody really knows who is a good purveyor of information. Nobody really knows, how the information sharing works. There's not kind of a logistical or logical way that you can follow a piece of information back to its beginning. Information sharing is also infrequent. This has been a problem within the information security industry for a long time. Folks act like, it's kind of the Wild West. It's really not. Everybody kind of silos their information to a more or lesser degree. And the relationships are completely unstructured. So I might share a piece of information with you today, and tomorrow I'm completely tight-lipped on something that I'm working on that's super special. That's not great, and it's not really great for like continued information sharing, which is what we really need more of. DAN, which is the project that I'm working on, stands for Decentralized Analyst Network. It's an answer to this problem, but it can also be viewed as an active way to push like the conversation forward. I think it will push it forward in an interesting direction. There might be folks who think that this is a little silly. I don't really care. I think it's kind of a cool project to work on. The goal of DAN is to serve as a decentralized open source environment of applications. So you've got several different applications that all kind of work in tandem, and they govern information collection, analysis, and dissemination across a wide array of sources. So that's why I was saying like Grabber app is going to be integrated into this from the beginning, so that you can grab information from domains. All of the other different projects that I've kind of started are going to kind of start to coalesce into this, or at least be a large part of it. Think of a situation where you've got a domain, or you've got a user account, or you've got something that you're interested in researching more of. I want DAN to be the place where you go, you put that information into the system, you enrich it, you find out more information about it, and you analyze that information, create a report, something like that, and then you disseminate all of that information across your instance or to other instances in some kind of federated manner. And it's also going to be the place where you like manage those relationships. I'll talk about that here in a second. DAN will give a singular analyst all the way up to large teams the ability to collect, store, analyze, and disseminate data among themselves, and then choose how to share that information with other federated groups. So it's going to be really important that everybody has access and control over their own data, but can also share data out in a structured and automated way if they so choose to. So think of this as a situation where you're doing some really heavy hitting research, but you don't think it's quite done. You don't want to share that out to your instance or your entire federation or everybody that's federated with your instance quite yet. You should have the ability to not do that until you are completely ready. At the same time, I want it to be as easy as possible to share that information out and in some kind of structured and rule-based manner so that it's as kind of transparent as possible. This kind of idea is you're putting privacy first by giving people the ability to control their information, but you're also making it very seamless to share that information out with the folks that you actually want to share it out with. Relationships will be malleable, transparent, and easy to change. I guess easy to change and malleable are basically the same thing. But essentially, these relationships are going to be manageable on the individual level all the way up to the instance level. So administrators of an instance can decide, I want to federate with this instance in this very specific way. I want to share information with this other organization in a very specific way, and I want to be able to change that if something happens in the IRL or in real world, in real life relationship. So if you've got an organization that you're saying, hey, I want us to work together, I want us to partner, I want to share information with them, and something happens and you break off that relationship, you should be able to change the way that you share information with them or completely eliminate that relationship within the kind of back end entirely. I think that's incredibly important here because in real life, relationships are malleable. They change all the time, and that's just part of life. So I want that to be reflected within DAN as well. Federations and individuals will be able to decide what data they share to their federations and the ones that they're related to. So if you're part of an instance that's federated with a bunch of other instances, you should have the ability to share that data out either with every instance that's federated with yours or with just a couple or with one of them. And I think that's really important. You can still own your data. This is not a way to say, hey, all of your data is now everybody's data. It's not some kind of like communist utopia or anything. That would be kind of silly. But it does make it easy to do that if that's kind of your vibe. This will also be an open source project from the beginning. This will also be an open source project from the beginning. In fact, it's already open source. I've got some really ugly looking boilerplate code up on GitHub right now. You can go and check it out. There's nothing useful up there yet. This is a large project that I've been working on, quite frequently over the last several weeks. But kind of watch that space. I'm not asking for stars. That's kind of, a little bit early to be asking for stars, but you can kind of check it out there. For specifics, if you're really interested in the technical stuff, I will be using Rust for as much of this as possible, mainly because Rust is an awesome programming language for this application. I think it's going to be awesome. Specifically for the UI, I'm using Rust's Bevy game engine, which you might think is kind of an odd approach, but I think for the visualizations that I have planned here, Bevy's going to be pretty awesome. Questions, feature requests, and crap talking, you can find me on Blue Sky or the comment section. Y'all have done a great job of making sure that I know my faults within the comment section, so feel free to continue that. You can also support me and Dan on Coffee. I don't have perks or anything like that yet. I might not ever have perks because I don't really know how to, I don't really want to manage all of that, quite frankly. But if you think this is a cool project and want to toss me, $5 a month or something like that, you can do it through Coffee. If not, just kind of, watch along, contribute code. Don't contribute to code, talk crap in the comments. I don't really care. But it's there. All of these links will be in the description. I hope to see you soon. Take it easy. Peace.